A barrel of oil just got more expensive than a nice dinner for two. And spoiler alert, by the end of this story, that barrel is going to reach into your wallet, steal your grocery money, jack up your plane tickets, and maybe, just maybe, get you laid off. And this turned out to be a terrible idea for literally everyone except oil traders with yachts. Okay, so here's what you need to understand. The global economy runs on oil the same way your body runs on blood. You don't think about blood. You don't wake up and say, "Hey, glad my blood is flowing today." But the second something blocks an artery, cardiac arrest. Now imagine the world has one critical artery, a tiny strip of water called the Strait of Hormuz, and someone just squeezed it. 20% of the world's oil flows through this one choke point. 20%. That's like if one highway carried every single Amazon package in America, and someone parked a truck sideways across it. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury against Iran. And the oil market did what oil markets do. It panicked. Now, before we get into the carnage, let me give you the 30-second version of why this tiny waterway matters so much. Iran sits right next to the Strait of Hormuz. It's basically their front porch. And for decades, Iran has said, if you mess with us, we will block this strait and choke the world's energy supply. Most people thought it was a bluff. Like that kid in school who says he'll fight everyone but never actually does. But little did they know. This time, the kid showed up with receipts. After the strikes hit Tehran and Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was killed, Iran started launching retaliatory missiles at U.S. bases, Israel, and Gulf states. The strait didn't need to be physically blocked. The mere treat was enough. Insurance rates for oil tankers skyrocketed overnight. Some shipping companies simply refused to send their vessels. And just like that, the world's blood pressure spiked. Oil surged 35% in a single week. And this turned out to be a terrible idea. Well, not an idea exactly, more like a catastrophe with a chain reaction nobody was ready for. To understand why this matters to you, you need to understand what oil actually is in the modern economy. It's not just gasoline. Oil is the invisible ingredient in almost everything. Your toothbrush, petroleum-based plastic. The fertilizer that grew your breakfast cereal, made from natural gas, oil's cousin. The truck that delivered your new phone? Diesel. The plane that flew those bananas from Ecuador? Jet fuel. Oil isn't a product. It's the product. It's the master commodity. When its price moves, everything moves. Think of it like gravity. You can't see it, but it's pulling on every single object in the room. Now here's the sneaky part. When oil prices spike, you don't feel it immediately at the grocery store. There's a delay. It takes 2 to 6 weeks for the higher energy costs to ripple through the supply chain and land on the price tag of your bread. So right now, in early March 2026, the spike has happened. The shockwave is traveling, and most people have no idea what's about to hit their bank accounts. But here's where it gets wild. See, before all this chaos, the world was vibing. Oil had been relatively stable. Gas prices were manageable. Shipping costs had normalized after the post-pandemic madness. Businesses were expanding. Airlines were adding routes. Your favorite restaurant wasn't raising prices every month. Life was, dare I say, fine. And when life is fine, nobody thinks about oil. It's like Wi-Fi. You only notice it when it stops working. Traders on Wall Street were busy chasing AI stocks and crypto. Energy was boring. Stable oil meant stable costs, which meant stable profits, which meant everyone was happy. Companies were hiring. Consumer confidence was decent. The global economy had this fragile but functional rhythm going. Some analysts even said we'd entered a new era of energy stability. Yes, exactly what you're thinking. Famous last words. Because here's what nobody was pricing in. The possibility that the Middle East, the region sitting on top of the world's largest oil reserves, would erupt into a major military conflict involving the United States. Oops. And this turned out to be a terrible idea. Well, the idea being that cheap oil would last forever. It never does. It never, ever does. But humans have this adorable habit of assuming tomorrow will look exactly like today. Spoiler, it won't. The cracks started before the bombs fell. Tensions between the U.S. and Iran had been escalating for months. Iran's nuclear program was advancing. Diplomatic channels were basically a group chat where everyone had muted notifications. Intelligence agencies were issuing warnings. But the market? The market had a slight case of denial. Oil futures barely moved. Traders shrugged. They'd seen tensions before. It always blew over. But little did they know, this time was different. Operation Epic Fury wasn't a limited strike. It was a full-scale military operation. And when the news broke on February 28th, oil futures didn't just climb. They detonated. Within hours, WTI crude jumped past levels not seen in over a year. Brent followed. The fear wasn't just about the oil Iran produces. Iran accounts for roughly 3 to 4% of global supply. The fear was about the choke point. If Iran retaliates by mining the strait or attacking tankers, you're not losing 3% of supply. You're potentially losing 20% of global oil transit. That's the difference between a nosebleed and a severed artery. And here's the thing about markets. They don't wait for the worst case to happen. They price it in immediately. So even though no tanker had been sunk yet, the price acted as if 10 already had. Fear is the most expensive commodity on Earth. And business was booming. Meanwhile, on Wall Street, traders were having the time of their lives. Volatility is a trader's best friend. Oil futures, defense stocks, gold, everything was moving. For the guys in the glass towers, this was Christmas morning. Portfolio managers were repositioning. Energy stocks surged. Every talking head on financial TV had an opinion and a price target. Meanwhile, in Washington and at the Bank of Japan, central bankers were staring at a nightmare. Here's the trap. Oil-driven inflation is the worst kind of inflation because you can't fix it with interest rates. If the Federal Reserve or the Bank of Japan raises rates to cool inflation, they crush consumer spending and business investment in an economy that's already getting punched by energy costs. If they do nothing, prices keep climbing and public anger grows. It's like choosing between a fire and a flood. Japan's central bank reportedly delayed its rate decision specifically because of this uncertainty. They're frozen. Meanwhile, let's check in on Jay. Jay is a regular guy, works a warehouse job, drives 30 minutes to work, buys groceries for a family of 4. Jay doesn't watch oil futures. Jay watches his bank account. And last week, filling up his truck cost $14 more than usual. This week, his wife noticed chicken breast went up by $1.50 a pound. Jay doesn't know what Brent crude is. But Brent crude knows exactly where Jay lives, and it's coming for his budget with a baseball bat. Here's where the humor stops. Because the chain reaction doesn't end at the gas pump. Let's trace it. Diesel prices surge. Every truck on every highway costs more to operate. Trucking companies raise their rates. Walmart, Target, Amazon, they all pay more to move goods. Do they eat the cost? Some of it, but most gets passed to you. Grocery prices creep up. Not dramatically at first. A few cents here, a quarter there, but it compounds. Then airlines. Jet fuel is typically 30 to 40% of an airline's operating cost. When that spikes, ticket prices follow within weeks. That vacation you planned just got $200 more expensive per person. Now multiply this across the entire economy. Restaurants raise menu prices. Uber and Lyft add fuel surcharges. Heating bills climb. And here's the gut punch. Wages don't move this fast. Your paycheck stays the same while everything around it gets more expensive. Economists call this real wage erosion. Jay calls it being broke. And if this persists, companies facing squeezed margins start cutting. First, it's overtime. Then it's new hires. Then it's layoffs. The last oil shock cycle showed us this pattern clearly. Energy spikes don't cause recessions by themselves, but they light the fuse. The people who pay the price are never the ones who saw it coming. They're the Jays of the world. And there are millions of them. So what does this teach us? One lesson, one brutal, simple lesson. The global economy is a house of cards balanced on a barrel of oil, and nobody notices until someone bumps the table. We built a world where everything, your food, your commute, your job, your vacation, depends on a commodity that flows through a strait most people can't find on a map. And every single time, we act surprised when it goes wrong. The 1973 oil embargo, the 2008 spike, the 2022 energy crisis, and now, March 2026. Every generation gets its oil shock. Every generation says never again, and every generation forgets. And this turned out to be a terrible idea. The most terrible, most repeated, most human idea of all, assuming the cheap stuff stays cheap forever. But humans never learn. We just reload the page and hope the price goes down. If this video helped you understand what's actually happening to your money right now, hit subscribe. We break down the economic stories that affect your real life, not just Wall Street's bottom line. Drop a comment. Have you already noticed prices going up where you live? I want to hear it. Like this video so more people see it before the shockwave hits their wallet? Stay informed, stay prepared, and I'll see you in the next one.